Hello, I'm Ben Wattenberg. Americans today are healthier and live longer than ever before, yet more and more Americans seem dissatisfied with traditional medicine. More than ever, they are turning to the so-called alternative medicines and therapies. These range from acupuncture, herbal medicine, homeopathy, and chiropractic to aromatherapy and healing hands. While popular, these and other treatments are controversial. Joining us to diagnose alternative medicine are Dr. James Gordon, Director of the Center for Mind-Body Medicine and the author of Manifesto for a New Medicine; Jack Raso, Director of Publications for the American Council on Science and Health and the author of the Expanded Dictionary of Metaphysical Healthcare, Alternative Medicine, Paranormal Healing, and Related Methods; and Jing-Nuan, an acupuncturist and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. The topic before the House: do we need a dose of alternative medicine? This week on Think Tank. Although still controversial, alternative medicine has become a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States. A recent survey found that at one time or another, 60% of doctors have referred patients to practitioners of some kind of non-traditional medicine. In China, acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. Until just a couple of decades ago, it was laughed at in the West. No longer. It is now used to treat everyone from patients suffering from lower back pain to drug addicts trying to combat their addiction problems. Herbal treatments are also growing ever more popular, and stores are popping up all over the country. Enthusiasts take St. John's wort to fight depression and ginseng to boost energy. The so-called natural products industry is now a $12 billion a year business. American spending on herbal and homeopathic medicine alone has increased over 300% just in the past 4 years. This stone massage clinic in Colorado treats patients for an assortment of conditions and ailments. It's a type of massage therapy with a twist. Hot and cold stones are alternated and applied to tension points on the body. Alternative treatments are becoming less alternative. The National Institutes of Health opened an office for alternative medicine in 1992.
So you're between the spine and the scapula.
And many universities are beginning to take alternative medicine quite seriously.
100 years ago, this is commonplace. 100 years ago, the world of medicine in this country is just like this. There's all kinds of alternative, treatment therapies, lots of choices, and so this pendulum is swinging this way. But now I think what's different is we're trying to bring some science to this. We're just not going to say this works, but we're doing research. We're looking at ways to really show in a biomedical context that these things have real scientific value.
But not everyone thinks the rapid acceptance and widespread practice of alternative medicine is such a good idea. Most critics admit there may be some health benefits from some alternative methods, but they caution that too little is known about many of these practices. They say that not enough testing has been done to determine efficacy and safety. Indeed, evidence suggests that some alternative treatments pose health risks, and critics worry that some patients might neglect useful medical procedures and turn to alternative methods instead. Editors for the New England Journal of Medicine recently wrote this: "It is time for the scientific community to stop giving alternative medicine a free ride." They added something else of interest. There cannot be two kinds of medicine, conventional and alternative. There is only medicine that has been adequately tested and medicine that has not. Medicine that works and medicine that may or may not work. Okay, say the advocates of alternative medicine, let's see what works and what doesn't. This week on Think Tank, an expert panel sorts out what's going on. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Let us begin at the beginning with the obvious question, which is, what do we mean when we say alternative medicine? And let's go briefly just around the room.
Okay.
Jim.
Alternative medicine is essentially, it's a wastebasket term. It means everything that doctors over about the age of 28 didn't learn in medical school, and everything that up till about 5 years ago you wouldn't see in your hospital. So as you said, it can range from acupuncture and herbalism to aromatherapy to massage to healing touch. I don't know that it's the best word, because alternative just means other. The British use complementary medicine, meaning those techniques that go with conventional medicine. Now we're talking about integrative medicine, integrating alternatives and complementary approaches with conventional medicine. The title of my book is Manifesto for a New Medicine, because I see that for the first time we have the capacity to integrate modern science and a number of different ancient healing traditions, and to come up with a truly new and integrated approach.
Jack, how do you define it? You have some problems with alternative medicine.
Well, I'm a criticizer of alternative medicine, but describing the expression alternative medicine as a wastebasket term is something I agree with. I would describe alternative medicine as a limitless hodgepodge. There are simply no limits. Just about anything can be called alternative medicine, provided it is not clearly a part of so-called Western medicine.
And in your judgment, that would include quackery?
Quackery has various definitions. If we define quackery as the practices and pretensions of a pretender to medicine, this would apply to many of the methods, and the degree of its applicability would depend on the practitioner.
Okay.
My stand is quite different. I look upon alternative medicine as allopathic medicine. Chinese medicine has been around.
Now, what does allopathic medicine mean?
Regular Western medicine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm saying that the use of acupuncture has been in the literature and practiced for at least 2,000, if not 3,000 years, and it's still being used.
And you translated a book that was written...
Yes, I translated the first book on acupuncture. It's called The Spiritual Pivot. You know, twirling the needle gives you the pivot, and it was, the book as it's been handed down to us was written probably around 200 BC. Those same methods are the methods that are used today.
Qing is an acupuncturist. Do you believe that acupuncture works?
The answer is very complicated. First of all, there are hundreds of forms of acupuncture. Second of all, it's used to treat perhaps thousands of different ailments.
But does it work? That's the overriding question.
I would have to say some forms work against some conditions.
Well, I think that the question, the basic question is, if medicine is viable in whatever form and it works, it's useful. What other criteria do you really have? A double-blind experiment attempts to do something on a laboratory basis. This method has been used empirically on literally billions of people for thousands of years.
What's a double-blind study? I mean, let's just establish
it means that you're blind.
You're double-blind.
A double-blind study is an experiment in which neither the researcher nor the patient knows whether or not the treatment is a sham treatment or the treatment being tested.
Oh, so neither the researcher nor the patient knows what's going on.
Right.
That's kept in some other record.
But there's some study. I mean, for example, you can't study surgery in double-blind fashion. You're not allowed to do sham surgeries.
So
they did try it once.
I know it's been done, but you don't do it anymore.
It was very interesting because
not with human subjects.
Because the sham surgery did better than the real surgery in that particular experiment.
Yeah. And then the surgery that was tested was thrown out.
Right.
But I think that the point is that there's some instances where you can do double-blind controlled studies, and some where you can't. And it's not the only kind of science. It's regarded sometimes as the gold standard, but there are other studies in which you do a complex treatment with perhaps several different aspects, perhaps acupuncture and herbal therapies and Qigong, movement and breathing meditation, and you see, does it work better than conventional treatment, or does it work better than no treatment, called an outcome study.
Right.
So there are many kinds of science. I don't think any of these approaches, I think all of these approaches potentially, or most of them, can be understood scientifically.
Jack,
regardless of the,
you have referred to alternative medicine as alternative religion. What do you mean by that?
The three most influential philosophies in the realm of alternative medicine are supernaturalism, mysticism, and vitalism. Most of the theories I've described, for the online version of my dictionary, I've described more than 1,300 health-related methods that are reasonably categorizable as alternative medicine.
Do some of them work?
Almost certainly they do, although they haven't been tested, most of them. I mean, we're talking about right now.
But if Dr. Wu says they've been tested for 2,000 years and there are empirical...
That's not testing.
Well, there are outcome results as opposed to double-blind studies, aren't there?
I mean, isn't empiricism real?
This is the problem in a nutshell. There are thousands, there are limitless methods that can be tested. I don't think we should be spending taxpayer money to test an indefinite number of methods. I don't think that we should be testing methods whose theories posit fairies or gods or the vital force or supernaturalistic quasi-entities.
yeah, I don't think we should study every alternative therapy. I think there are some that we need to study, some that look promising, some that look hopeful. So I feel we have to be discriminating because there is limited money. The other thing I want to say is that I don't think that the theory necessarily decides whether we should study it.
Nor do I.
Homeopathy is very improbable from a Western point of view. There have been about 150 controlled studies, double-blind controlled studies on homeopathy, about 25 of which are of high quality and show the effectiveness of homeopathy, whether in the laboratory or in animals or in humans.
Who will tell us in 2 sentences what homeopathy is, just so we...
Homeopathy basically posits, it's an early 19th century creation of a German...
Dr. Hahnemann,
traditionally trained, right, Dr. Hahnemann, traditionally trained physician, who the basic tenet is that like cures like. Something that in a large dose creates a set of symptoms, something in a small dose will relieve those symptoms.
Or even a non-existent dose.
Or even a non-existent dose,
Well,
exactly.
It is not non-existent because at that point it goes into the same type of theory that we use in Chinese medicine, which is qi, which is an energy matter, which is a wave rather than material.
Right.
And on that basis, homeopathy does have a standing.
That's one theory. The other theory are that it changes the bonds of the substance with which it's mixed, so that you change the bonding of hydrogen and oxygen. We don't know, from a Western point of view, we don't know why homeopathy works. And it's not that I believe in it or don't believe in it. I look at the studies and I say, here are some studies.
Jack,
this is worth looking at.
you indicated that you thought some acupuncture works in some conditions. Do you think that some homeopathy works in some conditions?
Yes, I would say that that's probable. Considering how many different homeopathic preparations there are and how many different forms of homeopathy there are, it would be foolish to say that none of this works against anything.
Well, but when NIH or a major drug company goes doing research, they also go up 100 blind alleys before they come up with a medicine. What is wrong with testing these things?
I don't think anything is wrong with testing methods whose theories are inconsistent with scientific knowledge. I do think it is wrong in many cases to test obviously outlandish methods with using tax dollars. I think it's pointless to test prayer, for example. I believe you you thought that was a good idea. The OAM funded research into the
OAM is the Office of Alternative Medicine
now
at the
known as-
National
right.
Institute of Health, which was one of the great legitimating factors in alternative medicine.
Well, alternative medicine has been further legitimated because the Office of Alternative Medicine has recently been upgraded to a center, namely the Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine.
Do you know, my stand on that is that medicine that works needs no legitimatization. Your patients are going to know whether it works or doesn't work.
Or they'll think they'll know.
You know, I've been practicing acupuncture long before it was legal in this country.
Were you practicing it illegally here?
Of course. Although I prefer to think that it was non-legal rather than illegal. And it either works or it doesn't work. And I think there's this terrible crossover of belief systems in the West where language gets in the way of what we really
What
can
about
do
the
and not
argument
do.
that is made, it seems to me with some merit, that while some of these things work, some of these alternative theories encourage people not to go to, quotes, mainstream doctors, and by doing that, they reduce their health care. I mean,
In my case, clinically, every patient that I have also has a regular MD, and in most cases, I work with those MDs.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes thrown out as something to be concerned about, and there may be times to be concerned about it, but I have the same experience. I have not seen anybody who has not looked to conventional diagnosis, conventional therapies, either simultaneously with or prior to coming to see me. I mean, they are considering that. I think that the danger is, and the danger is across the board in medicine, that people will not think through, that they will not ask questions, that they will not use their good sense in deciding what kind of therapy they should have.
herbal medicine is very much in vogue now, and people who are critical of alternative medicine tend to be critical of herbal medicine. Yet many traditional medicines, I mean, belladonna, digitalis, things like that, are herbal and plant medicines, aren't they? I mean, so
Aspirin.
is aspirin a plant? Yeah.
I think traditional herbal medicines ought to be studied. The question is, should consumers take them now in the, considering the lack of studies? I think in some cases it would probably be safe and effective, but my concern is with quality control.
Okay, listen,
That's my concern too. I agree
That's
with you.
my concern too.
Yeah,
Good.
I
I was just going to say we had
But
discussed.
this is true also for dietary supplements. My concern my concern with all dietary supplements is with quality control. Some of these supplements may eventually prove therapeutically beneficial, but
And some may prove to be harmful.
that's correct. But aside from that, I want to know that what the label says a pill contains is actually in the pill.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah,
Well, yes, but
And that's one of the major problems that has to be
But the
addressed.
health food industry has fought against this.
No, I don't think so. If they fought against that, they're wrong. I think the health food industry is realizing the importance of making sure that what's in the bottle, what they say is in the bottle, is actually there.
Maybe very recently, but they have fought laws that would have strengthened quality control.
Then, if indeed they did, I don't know if they did, they're like any other special interest. I'm interested in what's good for my patients and what's good for me. I want to know that I'm getting what it says on the bottle.
The phrase placebo effect has come up in recent dialogue. Does that tend to prove or disprove the idea of alternative medicine?
First of all, there's no standard definition for placebo. Probably placebo effect is easier to define than the word placebo. A placebo effect is an effect that cannot reasonably be attributed to to the preparation or treatment applied to the patient.
Right, but doesn't that very definition tend to prove the idea of alternative medicine, that there's something like if 20% of the people get, quotes, cured by a placebo effect, doesn't that tell you
but there is
that,
also
that there's something at work?
Well, yes, it does tell
yeah.
us that, but we must consider that something can also have a nocebo effect.
But I think that, you know, for every physician, the placebo effect is his best assistant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say placebo can also be defined as the sum of the non-specific interactions between the helper or physician and the patient. I think it's important to maximize the placebo effect, and I agree with Quing on this completely. On the other hand, there are studies with a variety of different so-called alternative therapies that differentiate between the placebo effect and the effect of the therapy, and show that the therapy has, as powerful as placebo is, sometimes 40 or 50 or 60%, there are alternative therapies, still alternative, that have an effect even greater than that.
All right. We had discussed in the beginning that we were going to talk about what it is and does it work, which we have done, and we said let's talk about the public policy implications. What should we do about what we know? My sense is that there is some general agreement here. I mean, you're all saying let's investigate it more, let's set up some quality standards. Is there?
I'm saying let's draw the line somewhere. You know, let's and let's not mislead consumers. Let's not.
But everything I ask you, do you think it works? You say, well, yeah, it might, and it can, and sometimes it does.
But consumers have altogether too much faith in alternative medicine methods. And we need to draw the line somewhere.
But what do you mean when you say draw the line? What do you think?
Well, first of all, as I said, I've identified more than 1,300 alternative medicine methods.
Right.
Some of them are ridiculous.
But do you know which ones are?
I mean, there are some whose theories posit fairies, posit demons, posit gods.
But homeopathy, from a Western mind, is extremely improbable, and yet
it works.
Some people say it works.
The issue, there is an issue of discrimination. I mean, we can't study everything, and I think we do have to decide what to study. And what we study, from my point of view, are those we want to study remedies or approaches that show significant promise, that work with conditions that afflict large numbers of people, that reveal new truths not only about therapy but about science.
So what we're agreed upon is there ought to be more investigation. It ought to be prioritized. You would draw a somewhat higher threshold as to where the priority line goes than the.
I also think we should answer the question: should mom and pop practitioners, non-credentialed, unqualified practitioners, be practicing methods that have not been tested, much less been validated?
Well,
what do you think about that, Dr. Wu?
This assumes.
I wasn't casting aspersions.
No. I'm assuming. Or I think the assumption here is that the general public is stupid, and I do not agree with that. I believe that the general public in this country knows more about these things than anybody gives them credit for.
I agree with. I agree, and also I think that part of our role, certainly part of the work that I do, that we do at our Center for Mind-Body Medicine, is to educate people. We need to educate people to be discriminating about all aspects of their health care. I have patients say who want to use some kind of therapy, whether conventional or alternative. I say, let's take a look at the literature. Bring in the studies. We'll sit down with them and we'll try to see if this is appropriate for you.
Okay.
But you're in a distinct minority. You must realize that most alternativist practitioners would not even approach giving such advice.
Okay. On that note, because the clock is the master here, I thank you all, and thank you for Think Tank. I'm Ben Wattenberg.
We at Think Tank depend on your views to make our show better. Please send your questions and comments to New River Media, 1150 17th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20036. Or email us at thinktank@pbs.org. To learn more about Think Tank, visit PBS online at www.pbs.org. And please let us know where you watch Think Tank.
This has been a production of BJW Incorporated in association with New River Media, which are solely responsible for its content.